Good afternoon and welcome to From the Wings. I'm Stephanie Freed and I'm so glad you're here with me today for today's episode. As we've discussed previously on From the Wings, the Bushnell is proud to partner with Connecticut's 5 other large performing arts centers to form the CT Arts Center Coalition, the Connecticut Performing Arts Center Coalition. From the very early days of the pandemic, our 6 organization heads came together both to, I think, commiserate and strategize around how we're all going to move forward in the uncertainty. And I know for us at the Bushnell, this partnership has been incredibly important and beneficial. We are all in this together, all working hard to bring the live performing arts to the people of our state. A few weeks ago, I had the chance to introduce you to Steve Siegel, who's the executive director of the Gard Arts Center in New London. That was a great conversation. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, and that you've had a chance to get down to New London to see what they're up to. Today, I have the great pleasure of speaking with Rufus de Rham from the Warner Theater in Torrington, an amazing theater, you guys. It's so beautiful, and they're doing some really exciting things. So I can't wait to talk with Rufus about that. It's a gem of an organization. It's remarkable, and it's bringing really interesting things to the people of Western Connecticut. So I look forward to hearing more about what they're doing and what's up there in Torrington. But now, as we do at the beginning of each episode of From the Wings, I'd like to recognize Webster Bank, our official presenter of the From the Wings series. We're so grateful to Webster Bank for their loyal and generous support, both today and always. So thank you, Webster Bank. Now, before we begin our conversation with Rufus, I thought it would be fun to celebrate today's Hamilton on sale. It's on sale, you guys. Started at 10 o'clock. Tickets are going fast. So if you're watching this, I encourage you, as soon as it's over, or maybe dual screen it, go on and get your tickets because they're going really quickly. The show comes June 22nd to July 10th. And like I said, it went on sale at 10 this morning. But back when we were closed, back when we couldn't be in our theater together, our patrons and our community joined us virtually to have some fun and sing along to one of our favorites from Hamilton, the song, You'll Be Back. So let's have a laugh and remember when coming together like that was the only way we had. And let's be super grateful that's no longer the case. So let's roll tape. So we have a pause with the video. I think we might be having a technical behind the scenes issue. Forgive me. We're going to go ahead and move the conversation forward. Maybe we'll get back to that at the end or another time. But let's go ahead and start our conversation and hear about what's happening at the Warner in Torrington. I'm pleased to welcome Rufus de Rham, Executive Director of the Warner. Hi, Rufus.
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm so glad to have you here today. It's been such a pleasure to work with you and your team through the partnership of the CTPACC. Yeah, it's been wonderful. So thank you for joining me.
Well, thank you for having us, and it's the feeling's mutual, I'm sure. And all of our team has raved about working with the Bushnell and with the Gard and the Palace Waterbury, Palace Stanford, and Schubert. I mean, it's been just a wonderful experience to bring these 6 organizations together.
Yeah, it's a great group. I'm curious. So you started at the Warner like a minute into the pandemic, right?
Yeah, March 30th, 2020. My last day at my previous job was March 13th, and I was in a regional meeting with the then ED of the Warner, their board chair, and when our region's Homeland Security advisor was like, "Yes, this is coming down the pike. The state's probably going to be shut down." We were all thinking, "Hey, it's going to be 2 weeks," and here we are 2 years later, coming out of it. But yeah,
So you're
it was quite an experience.
You're just coming up on your 2-year anniversary then.
Yes, I have not had I have not had a normal, like a quote normal day of operation at the theater since I started.
So you'll have to figure out, okay, what actually is normal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
What's the new normal going to be?
right, because the old normal, it almost doesn't even matter anymore. We're never going back to that. So what's
No, I
now?
don't think so.
So tell
Yeah,
me, so you
and
came on board and then you started talking with the 5 other organization heads?
yeah, actually, I called David Fay, your your executive director, because he and I have served on Connecticut Arts Alliance board together. And so I called him and said, "Okay, David, I need help. What do we do?" And he's like, "I don't know either. Let's talk." And so we got together we sent out an email and said, "Hey, we're all facing the same issue. We all just shut down. Let's have a meeting and see if it's helpful." Um, and it was, and we started talking almost weekly, and now we're at every other week, but checking in, seeing how mask mandates and vaccine mandates were implemented, how we start moving away from those, how we deal with tour rerouting, etc. I think it's been it saved all of our brains from trying to take it all on single, as a sort of single organizations. And I think that, and then it bloomed into much larger advocacy for funding, not only for the theaters, but for all of the arts in Connecticut, and going up into the appropriations committee, and advocating for further arts funding for the state.
Yeah, I mean, that shared voice I think is so important and something that hasn't been the case historically. Not that we had any bad feelings toward one another. We just weren't working hand in hand, I think, the way we are now.
No, and I think that's some, if you look at what good has come out of this pandemic, is I am seeing those silos breaking down, especially because it was a very Connecticut thing, because it's 169 or whatever separate towns, and none shall pass between. And that sort of siloing has broken down because we've been forced to communicate and work together. And I'm seeing that in Torrington as well, just with our sister organizations on Main Street, as well as the state partnerships with the other performing arts centers and the producing houses, and the other. We've had larger conversations with
Right.
more than just the 6 of us, and I'm hoping that it just keeps continuing, because there's a lot of work that we can do. We're better together than apart.
Absolutely. And isn't it remarkable? Connecticut is not a large state.
No.
The depth of the arts community in Connecticut is pretty significant.
Yeah.
Like you're talking about the presenting organizations, the producing organizations, then add in there the visual arts organizations, the smaller theaters, the smaller arts groups. It's really remarkable.
Yeah, I mean, Connecticut has some of the oldest arts centers in the United States. I mean, we had artist colonies from almost the beginning,
Mm.
and that spirit has sort of, permutated through all of Connecticut. And I like to say that I grew up in Connecticut, and then I lived and worked in New York for almost 15 years, and moved back. And then all my friends in New York are saying, like, we never see you. And I'm like, yeah, just come up to Connecticut. There's enough to do up here that I don't feel. The one thing I miss about New York is the food. But there's a lot of stuff. I do things every weekend. Go to pop-up film events. Go to concerts. Go see art shows. I mean, there's a lot of creative people and a lot of creative energy in the state, and I think that has to be exposed and shouted out from the rooftops as much as we possibly can.
I agree. Well, let's shout out now about the Warner, because I
Sure.
think the Warner is a really important part of that fabric of the arts throughout the state, but also specifically in Western Connecticut. So tell us a bit about the Warner, its programs, its performances, and how has it been for you all to, as you've come out of the pandemic, reopened your doors and gotten back to live audiences and performances?
Yeah, so the Warner Theater was an original 1931 Warner Brothers movie palace, and it operated as a movie theater in downtown Torrington up through basically the late 70s, early 80s, I believe. Like
Oh,
my
wow.
grandparents had some of their first dates at the Warner Theater,
That is the
actually.
best.
And then it was scheduled to become a parking lot, and famously a group of dedicated citizens said, hey, we can't have that happen. They got together, they saved the theater, and now we are the largest arts organization in Northwest Connecticut, and we present all sorts of touring acts, mostly music, comedy. Behind me you can see a poster for Momix. We often launch their tours, so before they go on their yearly tour, we're the first stop. Nutmeg Ballet hosts their Nutcracker with us every year and their spring recitals. And we have an opera club with Met HD. And then probably something that's like one of the reasons why I took this job is the community theater. We have a huge community theater program that's been with the theater since the beginning. The Warner Stage Company, they produce just excellent musical theater and straight plays. As you can see online, some of the fabulous costuming and things. I believe that one is from The Little Mermaid, which is one of our main stage musicals.
Wow.
And we also have an education program. So we do the summer arts program, which is incredibly popular for kids. It's sort of their a lot of times first introductions into performing arts. They learn how to make props, sing, do little sketches, do dances, and it's super cute. And every time I'm having a bad day and one of the education programs is going on, I go over, and just like the energy and just the joy of the kids is just
Yeah.
infectious, and I can go back to the office and deal with whatever I was dealing with. Yeah, and we do a lot of community programming. I mean, we are the largest venue for a mostly rural area, and so therefore we serve as a hugely important convening center
Yeah.
for our community. So we have birthdays here, we have anniversaries here, we're about to have a wedding. Actually, people that met doing the stage company and now are getting married. Um,
That's so
and
good.
a lot of the other organizations, other nonprofits. We just had a Primetime House, which is a service organization that does work with adults with mental illnesses in our space, doing staff training. We are really the communities theater for Northwest Connecticut.
Yeah, that's fantastic. There are some things in there that I had no idea about. I love that. I love learning. Love learning stuff I didn't know before. You said something though that I want to come back to because I was surprised. Warner Stage Company's been with the Warner since the beginning.
Pretty much, they were there since almost day one doing productions on our main stage, and they were a big reason why the survival of this theater worked and how we were able to raise money to get to renovate it in the early 2000s, is because of the work and the community that they brought into this space. And um, I encourage everyone to come see a show. We're about to put on Tracy Letts's Bug, which is a challenging show. If you haven't seen it, it's a very serious drama about paranoia and adult situations in a motel room, as two people sort of get locked up and become more and more paranoid that there's an infestation of bugs in their
Oh gosh.
hotel room. And if that's a little too much, we also are doing Silent Sky coming up, I believe, in May. And that's about the first female astronomers in Harvard. And it's a beautiful, beautiful play. And then in the summer, we're doing the stage musical Matilda on our main stage. We have two stages. We have a 1700 or 1800 seat main stage and a 300 seat studio theater.
Okay.
And Matilda will be on our main stage, and then in November we're doing Clue, which will be
Oh,
on the main
fun.
stage as well.
Oh, fun. So for clarity, the Warner Stage Company, that's not children's theater. That is true full-on productions that may include
Yep.
children, but it's not
Yes.
children's
Yeah,
theater.
and we try to do some family-friendly theater throughout the year, but the children's theater is really our. So we have sort of, if you look at it as an umbrella, we have Stage at the Warner, and under Stage at the Warner, there's the Stage Company, which is the adult community theater that's been doing this for almost 30 years and has one of the best costume shops in Connecticut, actually. We have about 7,000 square feet of costumes.
Wow.
We have a prop shop, we have a scene shop. And then we have our children's programs, which are Young Actors Series, which is the little kids, sort of usually their first time acting. You saw some pictures of them doing The Christmas Carol, which we just finished, and they're prepping for Footloose right now. Auditions are about to start. And then we have our teen theater, which is called Performance Lab, or we call it P Lab. And they just did Wedding Singer, and they're going to do another summer show for free as part of their summer program. It's going to be a 3-week or 2-week intensive where they put on they rehearse, perform, and tech a musical in 2 weeks and then put it on for our community.
What amazing experiences they're having in a professional environment where they live. That experience is remarkable. And the costumes, you're right. I mean, just looking at those images that our producers were showing, they're beautiful. And
yeah, that's thanks to Renee Purdy, who runs our costume shop. She is a costume extraordinaire. I was supposed to dress up like a Golden Girl this weekend for something, and I'm not gonna. She's unfortunately not at the costume shop right now, so I have to make my own costume.
Oh no!
I was gonna go as Blanche, but
I was gonna say, which one are you choosing? Are you choosing Blanche?
Blanche. Yeah.
Fantastic. So I've had the really great fortune of spending some time with your relationship director, Leslie Budney, who is just one of my favorite people. She's really terrific. And in some of the conversations we've had, she's talked about, and you've referred to some of this, the way that the Warner engages with community, not just through programming, but as you've touched on, through education. Can you tell me, you mentioned about being a convener, how does the Warner integrate or bring in community through your programs?
Yeah, I mean, I think this goes back to your question about how we're coming out of the pandemic. I think live theater and that sort of sense of shared storytelling and performing is a fundamental aspect of humankind. I mean, we evolved because of telling stories around campfires and singing songs and passing down lessons and passing down history through song and through acting and theater. I mean, that's literally the primal aspect of being human. And so part of that is we feel that is integral to community cohesion, to healing in the community, to mending fences and building bridges and all of that great things. I mean, there's a huge connection between art and mental wellness and healthcare and all that. And I think we're seeing that as a need to come out of the 2 years of collective trauma that we've all experienced. And we were already doing that work. And so now we're just trying to name it and say, hey, this is crucial for us as part of our recovery, and bring people in and just be open to one of our fundamental missions is to serve the community in that way. So how can we partner with the city? How can we make it so, I just got a phone call from a young man who's doing a film festival. He's looking for a space. So how can we make it so that we can accommodate them into our space, and make it work for both organizations? And thankfully, because we have these multiple spaces throughout the building, we can usually find a way that makes it financially attainable for people to use our space and bring their community in. And that's sort of the driving force of what we're doing now, post going out into the community, finding out what they want, what they need, how we can serve that need, and doing work that's sort of outside of our typical mission. Like we just formed the what's going to be the second cultural district in the state of Connecticut, and that was through the Warner Theater partnering with the downtown organizations in the city of Torrington to map the district, to map what the assets were that we had in the district. And we have some funding that we're sharing with that district. So we're able to, because we're the large organization, we're able to sometimes access funding other organizations don't have access to. How can we be a good neighbor and say, okay, let's figure out how this funding can benefit the Warner, but also benefit the whole community. And if that is professional training or being able to pay for workshops to bring in people and the community in to tell us what they need, then let's do that and let's figure that out together.
And there's the strength in that, right? It's similar to the CTPACC, the 6 of you coming together there in this cultural district in Torrington, the group of you coming together there. And, you know, going back to something you said early in that response, it's not just about entertainment. It is entertaining, and there is entertainment, but it is so much more than that. It is our collective wellness. The correlation with mental health and the importance of storytelling to process what we've been through individually and together. It's powerful stuff.
Yeah, I mean, and it's something that I think it's something that's important for us all to be working on and thinking about. And then so when we collectively say, okay, well, we need arts funding in the state, it's not just arts funding, it's community development, it's economic impact. I mean, the Warner is responsible for millions of dollars coming into Northwest Connecticut to support the restaurants and the B&Bs and the retail. There's a crystal shop across the street from us, Kelly's Crystals. It's a fantastic place. They have a ton of Connecticut artists there. When we're busy on the weekend, they typically do 2 to 3 times as much business as their normal weekend when we're not doing a show. And that, you know, when we're doing a big show, we have Teresa Caputo coming up, and she's almost sold out. You're not going to be able to get a seat in the restaurants downtown. You know, that's that impact. But we also have, I think, a responsibility to destigmatize access to social services, access to healthcare, and find those bridges where arts and healthcare can intersect. I mean, we're working on piloting a program right now around social prescribing so that patients that are going under certain treatments, as part of their treatment, get prescribed shows to the Warner Theater.
Okay.
To have a social aspect and a cultural aspect to their continuum of care. And how is that going to be able to impact, you know, so you're going through cancer treatment or mental health treatment, and part of that treatment is not only your therapy and your medication and physical therapy or whatever, but it's also going to a workshop at the Warner or going to a stage play at the Warner. So that it's part of feeling human and feeling that connection and feeling that connection to a larger community that's around you. And I think that's critical for us all to think about as we exit COVID.
Oh, please, let's exit, please.
Yeah.
I agree. I think that's really important. And I'm, you know, so impressed with the work that the Warner is doing there, and excited to see how that evolves over time. We are coming in toward the end of our time together. And one of the things, and it's super superficial, but I can't help it, the Warner is so beautiful. The murals, the ceiling, the architecture is just amazing. Can you tell us a little bit about, and I think we may have some photos, but can you tell us a little bit about that architecture?
Sure. So we're a National Registered Historic.
Look at that
place. Yeah. So this is Thomas Lamb designed. He was an Art Deco architect. This is one of his theaters. He designed a couple in Connecticut. I think we're the best one, but I'm biased. Yeah, but this ceiling and theater is just fantastic. And this was restored in 2000, the early 2000s, but restored to what it was in 1931. So the orange you see on the walls there is the actual fabric from Europe that was originally hung. The factory was still in business. The curtain is the original curtain. It has a gold banana leaf pattern. That was also, and the even the carpet was there. Like the factory was still around. We were able to order that original carpeting.
Wow.
And the ceiling is hand glittered and painted. And that gold leaf and silver leaf applied. It's fantastic. I mean, this was because Warner Brothers were building these movie palaces, and Torrington was this huge industrial center for the Northeast corridor.
Okay.
And this was their place that they were going to bring all the Warner Brothers movies to. And we had footage of, like, we got shared with the opening night of the Warner, and I mean, it was the governor was there, and all these dignitaries, and people were down on Main Street, just filled up with Main Street. And it is an Art Deco masterpiece. And we have two murals in our lobby that are the first mill and the first tavern in our region. And it's decorated sort of as it's supposed to look like a desert tent. So it's this very sort of desert themed paint scheme through an Art Deco lens, of course.
Yes, of course. Yeah. So it's the most glamorous desert tent
that you've ever been in. Yeah.
And the marquee is just iconic. I mean, clearly, I mean, it's your logo is evocative of it, and it makes such a statement when you're in downtown Torrington, especially when it's on, on a show night, lit up, just amazingly beautiful.
Yeah, and it has a lot of lights. I know, because we have to replace some of them, and I think, I can't even remember, it was thousands of lights that we had to order to do the marquee. Yeah.
Wow. And I'm sure that, the upkeep of such a beautiful, beautiful space, I know what it is for us at the Bushnell. I can only imagine the challenge it is there in Torrington. And I know for us, our ability to maintain our building wouldn't be possible without the generosity of our donors. I have to imagine the same is true for you.
Same is true for us. I mean, the community really came together to not only restore this place, but to keep it running year after year. And, because we own that building, but also the building next door, which is the country's first department store, actually. And now,
kidding.
Yeah, now it hosts a restaurant, Salt 2.0, and also our education spaces and our studio theater.
Well, I can't wait for the next time I'm out in Torrington. I hope everyone watching today will make their way out to Torrington.
Yeah, come visit. We're happy to give tours.
And stop at Kelly's Crystals and pick up a little something while you're out there, and maybe have a meal at Salt 2.0. Thank you so much, Rufus, for joining me today, and I look forward to next time.
I would love to, anytime you want me on. This was so much fun to talk to you. Consider me a permanent guest list.
Yes, we'll do a quarterly Warner Theater update. I love it.
Perfect.
Awesome. All right, thanks, Rufus. And if you'd like to know more about the Warner Theater in Torrington, visit them at warnertheater.org. You can see it there at the bottom of the screen. And I hope to see you there at one of the amazing shows they have coming up. Very interested in Bug, although it might freak me out. Anyway, as we wrap up today's conversation, just a reminder that the Bushnell depends on private support in addition to ticket sales to support our mission to elevate the spirit of our community. And again, we're especially grateful for the continued support of Webster Bank. It's also your support through giving, subscription, and ticket purchases that helps to sustain us and ensured that we were here and ready to welcome you back now that the time is right. I hope you'll consider renewing your gift or making your very first gift in support of that work today by visiting bushnell.org/donate now. As a reminder, if you haven't already, be sure to sign up for our e-club and follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And then I hope you'll join us for our next episode of From the Wings, when President and CEO of the Palace Stanford, Michael Moran, will be my guest. But before we go, although I'll bid you adieu before it plays, I want to play that Hamilton You'll Be Back video. So we're going to roll that here in a second. But until next time, take good care.
This is a socially distant message for you treasonous scum. From your gracious king.
You'll be back like before. I will fight the fight and win the war.
For your love, for your praise, and I'll love you till my dying age.
When you're gone, I'll go mad. So don't throw away this thing we have. 'Cause when push comes to shove,
I will kill your friends and family to remind you of my love.